Have you ever noticed how a single word from another person can change your entire day? One comment, one criticism, one unexpected event. And suddenly your mind is racing, your emotions are burning, and your peace has disappeared. The world teaches you to react immediately, defend yourself, explain yourself, fight back, prove your point. But what if everything you have been taught about strength is incomplete? What if your greatest power has never been found in your reaction, but in your restraint? Look closely at the people who leave the deepest impression. They are rarely the loudest. They do not rush to answer every insult or respond to every challenge. They carry themselves with a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken by the opinions of others. Their calm is not weakness. Their silence is not fear. Their patience is not surrender. It is the result of a disciplined mind that refuses to become a prisoner of emotion. Every reaction is an exchange of energy. Whenever you react without awareness, you hand control of your inner state to someone else. In that moment, they decide your mood, your focus, and even your decisions. But the moment you pause, breathe, and observe instead of reacting, something extraordinary happens. You reclaim your power. You become the master instead of the servant of your emotions. Inner peace is not created when life becomes easy. It is created when you stop allowing the chaos outside to create chaos within. Storms will always come. People will misunderstand you. Some will criticize you without knowing your story. Others will test your patience simply because they have never learned to master their own minds. You cannot control them, you never could, but you can always choose who you become in those moments. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm without becoming the storm itself. Imagine hearing harsh words without allowing them to poison your heart. Imagine facing pressure without losing clarity. This is not a gift reserved for a few extraordinary people. It is a skill. Like every skill, it is developed through awareness, discipline, and countless moments where you choose peace over impulse. Most people spend their lives trying to control the world around them. They want different people, different circumstances, different outcomes. But wisdom begins when you understand that the only territory you are truly responsible for is your own mind. Once you master that, the world loses its ability to control you. Praise will no longer inflate your ego. Criticism will no longer break your spirit. Success will not make you arrogant, and failure will not make you hopeless. There is a freedom that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or given by another person. It comes from knowing that your peace belongs to you alone. No insult can steal it unless you permit it. No setback can destroy it unless you surrender it. The quieter your mind becomes, the clearer your vision becomes. The calmer your heart becomes, the stronger your presence becomes. And without saying a single word, people begin to notice something different about you. They sense a strength that cannot be argued with because it does not need to prove itself. Today is an invitation to stop living as a prisoner of every emotion that passes through your mind. It is an invitation to become someone whose actions are guided by wisdom rather than impulse, whose decisions are shaped by clarity rather than anger, and whose life is rooted in peace rather than endless reaction. Because the less you react, the more powerful you become, not because the world changes, but because you do. And that is where true mastery begins. The moment you believe that every emotion deserves an immediate response, you unknowingly surrender control over your own mind. Most people live this way without realizing it. Someone speaks harshly, and anger rises instantly. A stranger criticizes them, and they spend the entire day replaying the conversation. A small inconvenience appears, and frustration takes over before they have even had the chance to think clearly. They call this being honest or authentic, but in reality, they are simply reacting. There is a profound difference between expressing yourself consciously and being controlled by your impulses. One is freedom. The other is a habit that quietly shapes your entire life. Your first emotional impulse is not always your wisest response. It is often the product of years of conditioning, past experiences, fears, expectations, and unconscious beliefs. When someone disrespects you, your mind immediately searches for a way to defend itself. When your pride feels threatened, it urges you to prove your worth. When you feel ignored, it pushes you to seek attention. These reactions happen so quickly that they seem automatic. But automatic does not mean unavoidable. Between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a small space. That space may only last a few seconds, but within those few seconds lies your greatest power. Imagine a skilled archer preparing to release an arrow. They do not shoot the moment they touch the bowstring. They become still. They breathe. They focus. Every movement is intentional because they understand that rushing leads to mistakes. Your words and actions should be no different. Every unnecessary reaction is like releasing an arrow without aiming. Once it leaves, it cannot be taken back. Words spoken in anger can damage relationships that took years to build. Decisions made in frustration often create problems that remain long after the emotion has disappeared. A disciplined person understands that patience is not hesitation. It is precision. Many people believe that reacting quickly makes them strong. They think that answering every insult proves confidence, that winning every argument earns respect, or that expressing every emotion demonstrates authenticity. Yet observe the individuals who possess genuine inner strength. They rarely waste energy trying to convince others. They do not feel the need to defend every opinion or correct every misunderstanding. Their confidence comes from within, not from the approval of those around them. Because they know who they are not shaken by every voice they hear. Every reaction is a decision, even when it feels automatic. The more awareness you develop, the more choices become available to you. Instead of asking, "How should I react?" begin asking, "Is a reaction even necessary?" This single question has the power to transform your relationships, your work, and your peace of mind. You will discover that many conflicts survive only because both people continue feeding them with emotional responses. The moment one person chooses calm instead of impulse, the entire direction of the situation begins to change. Choosing not to react immediately does not mean suppressing your emotions. It means observing them without allowing them to become your master. Anger may arise, but you do not become anger. Fear may appear, but you do not become fear. Disappointment may visit your mind, but you do not allow it to define your actions. Emotions are like passing clouds. They move through your awareness, but they do not have to determine the direction of your life. The moment you identify completely with every feeling, you lose sight of the deeper awareness that exists beneath them. Life will continue presenting situations that challenge your patience. There will always be people who misunderstand you, provoke you, or attempt to disturb your peace. You cannot remove every obstacle from your path, but you can strengthen the mind that walks it. Each difficult moment becomes an opportunity to practice conscious choice instead of unconscious reaction. Every time you pause before speaking, every time you choose understanding instead of anger, every time you refuse to let temporary emotions dictate permanent actions, you build a stronger character. This strength cannot be seen in your muscles or measured by your achievements. It is reflected in your ability to remain steady when everything around you demands that you lose your balance. With every mindful response, your awareness grows, your discipline deepens, and your freedom expands until reacting is no longer your first instinct and conscious choice becomes the natural expression of who you are. There is a unique kind of strength that the world often misunderstands. It is not the strength of raising your voice, winning every argument, or proving that you are right. It is the strength of remaining calm when everyone else expects you to lose control. Silence, when chosen with awareness, is not emptiness. It is a sign that your mind is no longer ruled by impulse. Many people speak because they are uncomfortable with silence. They argue because they fear being misunderstood. They defend themselves because they believe their value depends on the opinions of others. But the person who has cultivated inner peace understands that not every challenge deserves a response, and not every accusation deserves an explanation. Think about how much energy is wasted trying to convince people who have already decided not to understand you. Hours are spent replaying conversations, crafting perfect replies, and imagining what should have been said. Yet none of this changes the past. Instead, it steals your attention from the present moment. Every unnecessary argument drains your mental clarity and leaves your heart restless. The desire to always have the last word is often not a sign of wisdom, but of an ego seeking validation. True confidence does not need constant confirmation because it already knows its own worth. Silence is powerful because it creates space between emotion and action. In that space, your mind has the opportunity to observe rather than react. Instead of allowing anger to choose your words, awareness begins to guide them. Instead of speaking to defend your pride, you begin speaking only when your words can bring clarity, kindness, or meaningful direction. This is why disciplined people often speak less, but communicate more effectively. Every word carries intention because it is no longer driven by emotional urgency. There will always be people who misunderstand your silence. Some will mistake it for weakness because they have only learned to measure strength by noise and confrontation. Others may believe they have won simply because you chose not to continue the argument. Let them believe what they wish. A person who constantly seeks to prove themselves becomes a servant to the opinions of others. A person who knows themselves no longer depends on external approval. They understand that peace is more valuable than being declared the winner of a meaningless conflict. Imagine a deep lake surrounded by mountains. When the surface is calm, it reflects everything with remarkable clarity. The sky, the trees, and the distant peaks all appear perfectly because the water is undisturbed. But when the surface is constantly shaken, every reflection becomes distorted. Your mind functions in the same way. When it is disturbed by endless reactions, it cannot see reality clearly. Decisions become emotional instead of thoughtful. Words become weapons instead of tools for understanding. Silence allows the surface of your mind to settle so wisdom can naturally emerge. This does not mean remaining silent when truth must be spoken or when injustice must be addressed. There are moments that require courage, honesty, and firm action. But even then, your words should arise from clarity rather than anger. Anger may give you volume, but clarity gives you influence. People may fear loud voices for a moment, but they remember calm wisdom for a lifetime. The most impactful leaders, teachers, and guides are often those who know exactly when to speak and exactly when silence serves a greater purpose. Every conversation presents a choice. You can speak to protect your ego, or you can speak to serve the truth. These are not always the same. The ego wants victory. Wisdom seeks understanding. The ego wants recognition. Wisdom seeks peace. When you begin recognizing this difference, your relationships transform. You stop arguing over insignificant matters. You stop chasing approval from those determined to criticize you. You stop carrying unnecessary emotional burdens simply because someone invited you into conflict. The practice of conscious silence also changes your relationship with yourself. When external noise becomes less important, your inner voice becomes clearer. You begin noticing your thoughts without immediately believing them. You become aware of habits that once controlled your behavior. Patience grows naturally because you are no longer rushing to fill every quiet moment with words. Instead, silence becomes a place of observation, reflection, and renewal. From this stillness, your actions become more deliberate, your presence becomes more grounded, and your influence becomes stronger without demanding attention. The quiet person who has mastered themselves often leaves a deeper impression than the loudest voice in the room, because true authority is not created by speaking more, but by allowing every word to emerge from a mind that has first learned the discipline of silence. Most people spend their lives trying to organize the outside world while neglecting the one place that determines the quality of every experience, their inner world. They believe that peace will arrive when their circumstances improve, when people finally understand them, when success becomes permanent, or when every problem disappears. But even after achieving these things, many discover that the mind remains restless. This is because lasting peace is never created by controlling external conditions. It is created by understanding and mastering what happens within you. The outer world will always be unpredictable, but your relationship with it is shaped entirely by the state of your own mind. Your inner world is made up of your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, habits, and awareness. It is the invisible foundation upon which every decision, every relationship, and every action is built. If this foundation is unstable, no amount of external achievement can provide lasting fulfillment. A person may possess wealth, recognition, and influence, yet still live in constant anxiety because their mind has never learned to rest. Another person may own very little, yet carry a deep sense of calm because they have cultivated clarity instead of confusion. This difference is not determined by what they have, but by how they have trained themselves to see. The first step toward mastering your inner world is becoming an observer of your own mind. Most people immediately identify with every thought that appears. If the mind says, "You are not good enough," they believe it. If it whispers, "You must prove yourself," they obey without question. If anger arises, they become anger. If fear appears, they become fear. They never stop to ask whether these thoughts deserve their trust. But awareness changes everything. The moment you observe your thoughts, instead of becoming them, you create freedom. You realize that thoughts come and go just like clouds passing through the sky. They may influence your emotions, but they do not define your identity unless you allow them to. Emotional discipline begins with accepting that emotions are natural, but they are not reliable leaders. Happiness, sadness, frustration, excitement, disappointment, and fear are all temporary visitors. They arrive, stay for a while, and eventually leave. Problems arise when you make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. A disciplined mind allows emotions to be experienced without allowing them to take control. This does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. It means learning to feel deeply without losing your ability to think clearly. A river flows with great force, yet it remains within its banks. In the same way, emotions can move through you without overflowing into destructive words and actions. Awareness grows stronger through consistent practice. Every moment offers an opportunity to return to the present instead of becoming lost in unnecessary thoughts. While your body exists here and now, your mind often wanders into memories filled with regret or imagined futures filled with anxiety. Yet neither the past nor the future can be changed in this moment. The only place where transformation is possible is the present. When you train yourself to fully experience what is happening now, the endless noise inside your mind begins to quiet. You discover that many of your worries exist only because your attention has left the present moment. Mastering your inner world also requires honesty. It is easy to blame others for your suffering. It is much harder to examine your own attachments, expectations, and fears. Sometimes it is not another person's behavior that disturbs you, but your insistence that they should behave differently. Sometimes it is not failure itself that causes pain, but your belief that you must never fail. The mind creates countless stories about how life should unfold, and when reality refuses to follow those stories, frustration appears. Wisdom begins when you stop demanding that reality satisfy every expectation and instead learn to meet each moment with openness and acceptance. Daily discipline strengthens this inner mastery. A few moments of silence each morning, mindful breathing during stressful situations, thoughtful reflection before speaking, and gratitude in difficult times slowly reshape the mind. These practices may seem small, but they accumulate like drops of water filling a vast lake. Over time, your reactions become less impulsive, your judgment becomes clearer, and your peace becomes less dependent on external events. You begin to notice challenges without becoming overwhelmed by them. You face criticism without losing confidence. You experience success without becoming arrogant, and setbacks without losing hope. The greatest victory you will ever achieve is not over another person, but over the habits that once controlled your own mind. When awareness replaces unconscious living, every experience becomes a teacher rather than an enemy. Difficult people reveal your patience. Failure reveals your resilience. Uncertainty reveals your trust. Instead of searching for peace somewhere outside yourself, you begin to realize that it has always been waiting beneath the endless movement of your thoughts, ready to emerge the moment you stop chasing control and start cultivating mastery over the only place where true freedom has ever existed, your own inner world. One of the greatest signs of wisdom is knowing what deserves your attention and what does not. Many people believe that strength means holding on, fighting every battle, remembering every insult, and responding to every offense. They carry old arguments in their minds for years, replay painful conversations, and allow the actions of others to occupy their thoughts long after those moments have passed. They believe they are protecting themselves, but in reality, they are carrying invisible burdens that grow heavier with time. The weight they feel is not created by what happened. It is created by their refusal to let it go. Letting go is often misunderstood. Some believe it means giving up, accepting disrespect, or pretending that pain never existed. But letting go is none of these things. It is the conscious decision to stop allowing the past to control your present. It is choosing freedom over attachment. It is recognizing that while you cannot erase what has happened, you can decide whether it continues to occupy your mind. The event may have lasted only a few moments, but your attachment to it can last for years if you continue feeding it with your attention. Consider how a person walks through a forest, carrying a heavy stone in their backpack. At first, the weight seems manageable, but after hours of walking, every step becomes more exhausting. The strange part is that no one forced them to carry the stone. They simply forgot that they could put it down. Emotional burdens work the same way. Every resentment, every disappointment, every unspoken anger becomes another stone added to your mind. Over time, these burdens steal your energy, cloud your judgment, and make even simple moments feel heavy. Yet the key to freedom has always been within your own hands. You can choose to release what no longer serves your growth. Not every opinion deserves your concern. Not every criticism deserves your response. Not every conflict deserves your participation. Many people spend their lives trying to defend themselves against every misunderstanding, as if convincing everyone is the path to peace. But peace is never found through endless explanation. There will always be people who misunderstand your intentions, question your decisions, or judge your journey based on incomplete knowledge. If your happiness depends on changing their minds, you will remain trapped in a cycle that never ends. The wiser path is to accept that not everyone is meant to understand you, and that your peace is too valuable to exchange for endless approval. There is also a deeper attachment that many fail to recognize, the attachment to being right. The ego finds comfort in proving itself correct, even when the cost is a broken relationship or a restless heart. It whispers that winning the argument is more important than preserving inner peace. But what is the value of victory if it leaves your mind disturbed for days afterward? Sometimes the greatest victory is walking away from a battle that never needed to be fought. Choosing peace over pride is not surrender. It is maturity. It is understanding that your energy is limited and should be invested where it creates growth rather than conflict. Letting go also means releasing unrealistic expectations. Much of human suffering comes not from reality itself, but from insisting that reality should be different. We expect people to always appreciate us, to never disappoint us, to always act according to our standards. When they fail to meet these expectations, frustration grows. Yet every person carries their own fears, limitations, and struggles. The moment you stop demanding perfection from others, compassion begins to replace resentment. You no longer carry the impossible burden of trying to control people who were never yours to control. Forgiveness is another expression of letting go. It does not always mean forgetting what happened or inviting harmful people back into your life. It means refusing to let bitterness become part of your identity. Holding onto anger may feel like punishment for another person, but more often it becomes a prison for the one who carries it. Every day spent feeding resentment is another day your own peace is sacrificed. Forgiveness is not a gift you give because someone deserves it. It is a gift you give yourself because you deserve freedom from the weight of constant emotional pain. As you practice letting go, you begin to notice a remarkable shift within yourself. Situations that once consumed your thoughts lose their power. Harsh words no longer echo endlessly in your mind. Delays, disappointments, and criticism become temporary experiences rather than lasting wounds. You begin to understand that your attention is one of your most valuable resources, and you become careful about where you invest it. Instead of wasting your energy on what cannot be changed, you direct it toward becoming wiser, calmer, and more compassionate. With each burden you release, your heart becomes lighter, your mind becomes clearer, and your spirit becomes stronger, until peace is no longer something you search for, but something you protect by choosing. Again and again, to let go of everything that was never meant to stay within you, to become unshakable, does not mean that life will stop testing you. It does not mean you will never feel pain, disappointment, fear, or uncertainty. It means that no matter what life places in front of you, you no longer lose yourself in the process. The strongest tree is not the one that never faces the wind. It is the one whose roots grow so deep that even the fiercest storm cannot uproot it. In the same way, true strength is not measured by the absence of difficulty, but by your ability to remain grounded when everything around you is changing. Most people build their identity on things that are temporary. They depend on praise to feel confident, success to feel valuable, relationships to feel complete, and comfort to feel secure. As long as these things remain, they believe they are strong. But the moment they disappear, their peace disappears with them. This is because anything that depends entirely on external conditions can also be taken away by external conditions. An unshakable person builds their foundation somewhere deeper. They understand that circumstances will change, people will come and go, success will rise and fall, but the one thing that must remain steady is the mind that experiences it all. There will always be moments when life does not unfold according to your plans. You may work hard and still face failure. You may offer kindness and still encounter betrayal. You may give your best and still be misunderstood. These experiences are not signs that life is unfair to you personally. They are part of the human journey. The question is not whether difficulties will come. The question is who you become when they arrive. Every challenge reveals something about your inner condition. If a small obstacle immediately fills you with anger, then anger has become your habit. If every criticism destroys your confidence, then your confidence has been built upon fragile ground. But if you meet adversity with patience, clarity, and courage, then every hardship becomes another opportunity to strengthen your character. An unshakable mind does not resist reality. It accepts what is happening without becoming passive. Acceptance is often confused with surrender, but they are completely different. Surrender says, there is nothing I can do. Acceptance says, this is the reality before me, and now I will respond wisely. When you stop fighting against what has already happened, you save enormous amounts of energy. That energy can then be directed toward meaningful action instead of endless resistance. The past no longer imprisons you because your attention returns to what can actually be influenced. The present moment, developing this kind of stability, requires daily discipline. It is not created during moments of comfort, but through repeated practice during moments of discomfort. Every time you choose patience over frustration, you strengthen your mind. Every time you remain calm under pressure, you deepen your resilience. Every time you refuse to let another person's behavior dictate your own, you reclaim another piece of your freedom. These small victories may seem insignificant, but over months and years, they transform your entire character. Just as water slowly shapes stone through constant movement, disciplined habits quietly reshape the mind until calmness becomes your natural state. An unshakable person also understands the importance of perspective. Many problems that seem overwhelming today will become distant memories tomorrow. Yet people often magnify temporary difficulties until they appear permanent. They allow one failure to define their future, one rejection to determine their worth, or one painful experience to destroy their hope. Wisdom reminds you to step back and see life as a whole. Every season has its purpose. Winter prepares the ground for spring. Darkness allows you to recognize the value of light. In the same way, every challenge carries within it the possibility of growth if you are willing to learn instead of merely endure. Perhaps the greatest quality of an unshakable person is that they no longer seek peace from the world. They understand that the world is constantly changing, and expecting permanent comfort from it will always lead to disappointment. Instead, they cultivate peace within themselves. This inner peace becomes their home, a place they can return to regardless of what happens around them. Whether surrounded by praise or criticism, success or failure, certainty or uncertainty, they remain connected to something deeper than circumstance. Their decisions arise from wisdom rather than panic. Their words come from understanding rather than impulse. Their actions reflect values rather than temporary emotions. As this way of living becomes part of who you are, people will notice a quiet strength that cannot be explained by appearances alone. They will wonder why you remain calm while others panic, why you continue moving forward when others give up, and why your presence brings stability, even during uncertainty. The answer will not lie in extraordinary talent or perfect circumstances. It will lie in the countless unseen moments when you chose awareness over reaction, discipline over impulse, acceptance over resistance, and inner peace over external chaos, until your mind became a place that no storm could conquer, and your heart became a refuge that no difficulty could permanently disturb.